record our class so that that class can also help other people who are not able to join our class because of one reason or the other. So today I'm not going to speak in a very loud voice because I'm not feeling well. My voice is not so good. So today we are going to look at topic 5, which is public speaking and presentation. I'm going to look at this particular topic, and then there is another topic, which is topic 6. And that topic 6, what I'll do is that I'm going to leave you to read it on your own. So you read that topic on your own. Then after reading on your own, I'm going to place a recording of a class that was done previously. So that said and done, let's look at our topic, which is topic 5. And this one is what we call public speaking and presentation. So when you talk about public speaking and presentation, first of all, we ask ourselves, what is the purpose of public speaking? When you talk about public speaking, like every good story, every public speech must have a purpose. For example, you cannot just decide to go and give a speech for the sake of giving a speech. What is the purpose of the speech? So every public speech has a purpose. It is often called the thesis. You've heard people saying, I'm writing my thesis, or the thesis of this public speech is ABCD. Now, it is often, when you talk about public speaking, it has a purpose, and that purpose is usually known as the basis, the thesis, or the main idea. The purpose controls the development of a speech. For example, assume we are talking about female genital mutilation. Our purpose is female genital mutilation and the effect of female genital mutilation. So that is our purpose. So whenever we have a purpose, then every other thing come falling down, or it come falling apart, or something like that. In other words, we are saying it is often called the thesis or the main idea, and the purpose usually it controls the development of the speech. That the moment you start that that particular thesis or that particular story or that particular speech, hizi vitu zingine zinakuja zenyewe. So a speaker may even repeat. If you are a good speaker is a speaker who repeats. A good speaker is a speaker who rephrases the purpose to make it clear. For example, you come up with a purpose. You've come up with a purpose, and people are not able to understand the reason as to why you are giving a speech. So a good speaker repeats. A good speaker rephrases something. To rephrase is simply means you write it in another, or in other words, for the people to understand what you're talking about. So a clear purpose, it does two things, or a clear thesis does two things. It helps the listener to understand all the information. For example, if the main idea is female genital mutilation and its effect, then that one will help the listener to understand exactly everything that you're talking about. Number two, a clear purpose helps the speaker to stay on the topic. So if at all you are doing what? If at all you are talking about female genital mutilation, everybody will be asking you questions and will be doing what we call, will be adding to the topic on things that revolves around female genital mutilation. So a good or a clear purpose, it helps the speaker to stay on the topic. Rarely will you find the speaker asking you about matatu za kwenda town and we are talking about female genital mutilation. So a public speech has four general purposes. Number one, you realize that whenever you give a speech, it has got the following reasons or the following purposes. Number one, it's to inform. A speech, its purpose is to inform people. Maybe you can have a public speech talking about how to vote or voting, simply voting. So the reason as to why you are having this public speech is to inform the people. Sometimes we have public speech to entertain the people or even to inspire them. For example, maybe you want to tell your listeners, or you want your listeners to understand something. If they already know something about your subject, you may even help them understand better what you're talking about or about that particular thing. For example, maybe you're giving a speech on COVID-19. Suppose, for example, that you have a special talent for taking pictures of pets. You're giving an example. So you can decide to give a speech that will teach these people new skills. So the purpose of your speech then is to inform people through the facts, methods and examples that you describe. So your listener will learn about taking pictures of pets. So sometimes you can give a speech and people knows about what you're talking about. But now what happens is you can even give a speech to give more details so that people can understand exactly what you're talking about. Number two is to persuade. We can give a speech so that we can persuade people. To persuade means what? To persuade simply means you want to change someone's perception, or maybe you want to do what? To lure people to do something or to refrain from doing it. For example, maybe you want to change your people's mind. Maybe you like this particular product in the supermarket. You like using Golden Fry as the oil. And maybe there is another person who likes using Avena. And you want to change their mind to stop either using golden oil, Golden Fry, or to stop using Avena, or to start using maybe Golden Fry, or to start using Avena or something of the sort. So sometimes we use a speech to persuade. You are told, imagine, for example, that your school does not open the gym in the morning before class starts. Imagine you have a gym, your school has a gym, and it doesn't open the gym in the morning before classes start. So you would like, for example, the gym opened an hour before the classes start in the morning. So you feel you have several good reasons for changing this policy. So you decide to give a speech to convince your classmates to agree with you. So you also want them to help you convince maybe the principal, or maybe convince the dean of students, or maybe convince the campus director to change that particular policy. So the purpose of this particular speech will be to persuade. So sometimes we give speech to persuade. Lastly, we can also give, no, not lastly, but second last, we can even give speech to entertain. Maybe you want your listener to enjoy themselves. Maybe you want them to relax and forget their problems, because the main purpose of entertaining is to make people forget their problems and do what? Enjoy themselves. So you may even want them to see a funnier light side of an issue or an event. Suppose you decide to give a speech about the first time you rode a horse. Maybe you want to give a speech about how the first time you rode a horse, or the first time you drove a car in a highway or on a highway. So you will remember several funny things that happened. Maybe you thought you were pressing the what? The accelerator, kumbe you were pressing the brake, and all of a sudden the car stopped and you were pushed forward by something of the sort. So you remember the funniest things so that people can be, can laugh and feel very good or feel welcomed. So when you describe this experience, you want your listener to be amused. To entertain them is your purpose. Sometimes, like whenever we go to Churchill Live, why are you going to Churchill Live? You are going there to be entertained. You're not going there to do what? To write notes. You're not going there to ride horses. You're going there simply to get entertained. Next is to inspire. Sometimes you can give a speech to inspire someone, or even to motivate somebody. Maybe this person has given up on life. Maybe this person is a drunkard. He has tried stopping drinking, but he has not been able to do that successfully. Maybe this person is a person like a student who has tried to read, it is not getting in. You have tried revising your notes, but you are still flopping. You are still doing very poorly in your academics. Sometimes you can do a speech to inspire, especially those people in Form 4, those people who have, for example, who are going through tough times in life. And then again, you can give a speech for multiple purposes. For example, maybe your main purpose may be to persuade your classmates to vote for Anne as a student council. That is your main purpose. And for you to do this, you may also have to inform them about Anne. You tell them Anne is a student is a third-year student doing maybe Bachelor's of Economics or Bachelor's of Science in Actuarial Science or Actuarial Science. You may also want to entertain them, to get their attention, like what the politicians are doing. Before they inform you about their manifesto, they tell you that we are Azimio or we are this particular party. And then from there, they also want to inform you about their manifesto. And then from there, they may also want to entertain, to get the attention of people. That's why you find that in most presidential, what we call campaigns, there is entertainment, because people like being entertained with music, acrobats, those things. So you may want to attract their attention. So they may listen more carefully as you persuade them. Then after persuading them, maybe you have some breaks. Then there is music playing, people dancing, and so on and so forth. So this speech, however, still has only one main purpose, and the main purpose is to persuade. In any speech you give, you may decide, or you must decide, what your main purpose is. And this purpose must be very clear so that your audiences will understand. Any question up to that point? Up to that point, any question? If there is no question, then we move to the next thing, types of public speeches. And we have how many? We have two types of main public speeches, which we are going to look at very fast. Number one, we are talking about, or before we go there, we can say, before radio and televisions were common, public speeches were often major social and educational events. Public speeches were major social and educational events. For example, I was reading somewhere and it was saying that language was developed 200,000 years ago. Language, the language that we use, English language or any other language, it was developed 200,000 years ago. And during those times, what happened is that people used to go and cram a lot of information. They read and cram a lot of information concerning something. And then whatever they cram, they used to tell their people. And this cramming was carried from generation to generation. So kama mimi ninaenda ninasoma vitabu, ninakuja nina cram. Or maybe I get this information from my who? From my grandfather or my grandfather. He tells me this and this concerning maybe my tribe. Then after I get this information, then I tell it to my children. Then my children tells it to their children, and their children tells it to their children, like that, like that, like that. So in other words, we are saying that before radio and televisions were common, public speeches were often a major social and educational event. But today, most people are no longer enjoy this kind of public speaking. So they like shorter ones, they like less formal speeches. And in spite of these changes, public speeches are still grouped according to the amount of preparation and time that you require. So in other words, when you group what we call public speeches, we group them according to what? According to the time that you require to prepare. For example, there are those speeches that you are just told to give. For example, we go to a meeting and all of a sudden you hear, Caleb, can you pray for us? Can you tell us about this and that? That is a speech that you have been told to give all of a sudden. You are not prepared. So speeches are classified according to the time that you have been given to prepare. Therefore, we have two kinds of speeches. Number one, we have impromptu speech. And to give an impromptu speech, you need to organize your ideas quickly and speak spontaneously. In other words, you have to think on your feet. Thinking on your feet simply means you think as you speak. Imagine you go to a meeting, maybe you go to a graduation ceremony, maybe one of us is graduating, and you are seated comfortably with your friends. Then all of a sudden, you hear the who, the speaker, I mean, not the speaker of the day, you hear somebody calling you, Ukombele, can you come and give us a speech on, or tell us how this should be done? Now that way you are not prepared. So you have to think on your feet. So the audiences understand this and does not expect a polished speech. So most impromptu speeches, and this one we call them impromptu speeches. Impromptu speech ni ile speech unaambiwa upeane na haukuwa prepared. Hata haukuwa unajua kama utaitoa. You are just told, come and give us a speech. The second one is what we call the extemporaneous speech. Extemporaneous speech. And this type allows the speaker to prepare in advance. For example, I have my graduation. So I call one of you and I tell them, you will be my guest speaker. This guest speaker will prepare in advance. He will know what to say and what not to say. So he is going to arrange his points in order of its importance, and so on and so forth. So in the extemporaneous speech, you are given some time to prepare. Like if you tell me that I'll be the guest speaker in your graduation ceremony, I'll prepare what to say that time. So this one is known as extemporaneous speech. And this type of speech is called, no. So I think that one is already there. Then there is the way we introduce, we can say that audiences expect these speeches to be specific forms. This one to be what? To take specific forms. That is extemporaneous speeches. So each kind of speech, of special occasion speech, serves one of the four main general purposes of speeches. Like for example, if you're called for a graduation ceremony, then that one is a special general what? Speech, and it has got its own purpose. Like for example, we can have introduction and responses. An introduction and responses is a short speech that introduces a guest speaker. Like before a guest speaker speak, kuna yule ambaye anamkaribisha. Anasema, this is Mr. David. He works for this university. He has been in the field for 10 years and he's a guru in this area. He has also worked for this organization. He has also been a psychologist, an ABCD and so on and so forth. Now that one is called introduction and responses. And this one is when you are introducing somebody to come and give a speech. So a response is not part of the planned speech. So the guest speaker usually thanks the person who gave the introduction. Then the speaker says how happy he or she is when the audience, happy he or she is to be with the audience or at the event. Then there is what we call other speeches, like after dinner speeches. Now, after dinner speeches, this is when, for example, an organization organizes for a dinner, maybe for its employees. And this one, mostly it can happen even during end year parties. Most organizations, they usually have dinners, maybe 20 end year party. And then after you have an end year party, you go, you eat, you have a dinner, and then after dinner, speeches are given. So you'll find somebody giving a speech, like maybe the head of department. You will find somebody giving a speech like maybe the vice chancellor, and so on and so forth. So these ones, they are meant specifically to entertain. Even though serious points are made, humor is often an important part of this speech. So you'll find that most people that you are not able to interact during the year in your organization, at this time they are very free. You can interact with them. They are just ordinary people. They present themselves as very ordinary. That if you have been fighting the whole year, maybe you have been coming to the organization late, maybe if he has been giving you pressure at work, this time round, he's just an ordinary person. So that's why we call them, even though serious points are made, humor is often an important part of this speech. That's why we are saying they are called after dinner speeches. So sorry for that. We are talking about after dinner speeches. Then after dinner speeches, we have presentation and acceptance speeches. And when you talk about acceptance and presentation speeches, a presentation speech is made when an award or a gift of honor is given. For example, the speaker usually explains what the award is all about and for what reason or why the person deserves an award. So an acceptance speech is given by a person who gets the honor. For example, in some, those people who graduate, we can expect to give, we can expect you during your graduation ceremony, because apart from the ceremony that is held at the university, there are those ceremonies that you hold at home. Party, we call them graduation party. We can expect that person who graduated to come and explain to us and talk to us, maybe concerning education. Labda amepitia mambo marefu, mambo ngumu sana alipokuwa anasoma. But now, whenever, because he has the honor, we expect that person to speak to us. Then there is commemorative speeches, and commemorative speeches, they are given, especially when you are commemorating someone, like memorials, eulogies. You have heard people saying, tuko na makumbusho ya shosho. Maybe he died maybe 20 years ago or 15 or even 5, but you want to go and do what? And commemorate or have a memorial. Memorial simply means we are remembering my shosho or the person. So we give what we call commemorative speeches. And these speeches, they are usually given to remember these people, what they did to you, and what you cannot forget them for. There are people who are very idle, they are making noise for us. If you make noise for me, mimi ninakutoa na tunaendelea na masomo. Then there is what we call graduation speeches. So speakers may talk about past experiences or hopes. Now, graduation speeches is when we are having a graduation, maybe in a school compound or maybe in a university compound. The speeches that are usually given there by guests of honors, sometimes the graduates are given the opportunity to give a speech. Those ones are graduation speeches. Kindly do not confuse graduation speeches with what we call presentation and acceptance speeches. Presentation and acceptance speeches, they are given by somebody who has received an honor. Maybe, for example, I've been given a doctorate degree. Then I'm expected to give what? A speech. Maybe I have been given an award for being the best company. Like you have seen the Koya Award or the Koya Awards and so on and so forth. Or maybe we have this Mrs. World Kenya. Mrs. World, or the person who has been given the title Miss World, is usually given a time to do what? To give a speech. Now that one is known as presentation and acceptance speeches. You are giving a speech and you are telling us where you have come. You are telling us, or you are explaining the award, why you have been given and why, or why a person has been given and what criteria, why he has been given and such kind of things. So delivering presentation, I think this one we have talked about, impromptu speaking. Impromptu speaking is when you are not prepared to speak or to say anything. Speaking from a manuscript, there are people who speak from a manuscript, and they have written things on the paper, and then they read for us. Sometimes these ones you see whenever we have what we call, for example, during Mashujaa Day, you see our president reading from a manuscript. Then there is memorizing the speech. There are people who are very good at memorizing the speech. You read the whole manuscript, you memorize, you put it in your mind. So when you stand in front of people, you are reading from a manuscript that you had memorized. Then there is what we call extemporaneous. and extemporaneous, the speaker or delivers a speech from notes, and the speaker may commit some of the main ideas of the speech to memory. Yeah, some of the speech to memory. Yeah. So guidance or guidelines for delivering a speech. Number one, you need to know how you look. Number one, we are saying that whenever you are giving a speech, you must be able to look, check how you look, appearance. Whenever you are giving a speech, wear good clothes, put on good clothes, clothes that are not tight, clothes that are not even baggy. Kuna watu wanavaa manguo baggy sana, Dress well and appropriately. Walk with confidence. Look interested in giving a speech. Because if you don't look interested in giving a speech, do you think your audiences will be interested? So interest must come from the speaker. Even the way you dress. Like, for example, dressing is very important because you might think that people are listening to your speech. Kumbe, they are looking at how you are dressed. They are looking at how tight your skirt is. They are looking at how tight your top is and how you are showing them cleavage. That is where their attention is. And you think that they are very interested in your topic. So whenever you dress appropriately. Don't wear too shouting colors or crashing colors. Umevaa koti ya orange, alafu chini umevaa skirt ya green ama ya yellow. Imagine orange and yellow. How does it look? It looks funny. Or orange and purple. It looks very funny. So that is it. Body movement, be very careful with how your body is moving. Move purposely. Like if you are walking, walk purposely. And by the way, if you walk while giving a speech, it shows that you have taken over. It shows that the floor is now yours. It shows that now, wewe ndio kusema. But if you stand on one point, you are not moving, you are standing like a post. It shows that in the first place, you are not comfortable with the place, or you are tensed, or there are so many things that comes with body movement. Also keep eye contact, maintain eye contact between you and the people you are giving the speech, because keeping in mind the culture of your audiences. Whenever you are maintaining eye contact, also put in mind the culture of your audiences. For example, in American culture, eye contact is very important. And if you don't keep eye contact, you are at risk, because it will mean that you are dishonest, you are lying, or you are having something that you are hiding. So in American culture, you must maintain eye contact. In some culture in Kenya here, if you look at an old person directly on the face, it shows that you disrespect them. And so on and so forth. Then we also work on your facial expression. It is very important. Like, for example, if you're talking about a very important topic, we will be able to know that that topic is important by looking at your facial expression. If you're talking about a very serious topic and you are laughing, hey, my friend, people will not take it seriously. Like, for example, you are talking about, say, voting. Voting should be carried or should be taken seriously. And you are laughing, you are making all manner of jokes, then people will not take it seriously. In fact, at the end of the speech, no, you will not have moved anybody. You will not have persuaded anybody. Again, work on your gestures. That your gestures must emphasize ideas or emotions. Then there is another one called posture. Posture is how you sit, how you stand. There are people, when they stand as if they are sitting. When they sit as if they are standing. And so on and so forth. This one, you're supposed to keep in mind the way you sit, in your seat, the way you rise and the way you walk to the podium and return to your seat after the speech. Because the way you sit, it shows that this person is comfortable. This person is at ease. This person anauliza tu speech iishe atoke aende, and so on and so forth. Even how you sound, you must be very careful on how you sound. The volume, check your volume so that you will be heard throughout the audience, that people can hear you at the back. Maybe you are in an auditorium, people at the back can hear you. Because if they cannot hear you, well, you just know that whatever will be happening at the back will be another business. Those who will be listening to you are only the people who are closer to you. At the back, they are doing their own business. And most likely, they are even doing what? They are actually, they are doing their own businesses. Let me just put it like that. Also, use a microphone if you need be. If you are seated in a very big room, na unang'ang'ana kushout, my friend, at the end of that lesson, you will develop some what we call some sore throat. I'm saying this because I'm a teacher and most of the time I'm in class. So whenever you give me a class of maybe 150 students and it is a hall, I will shout the whole day or the entire class time. By the time I'm done teaching that class, my friend, I will be having sore throats. So in other words, never ever try to shout, because you will be interfering with your throat and so on and so forth. Another thing is pace. Pace refers to how fast or slow you speak. If you speak too fast, it may be difficult for people to understand you. If you speak too slowly, you risk losing attention of your audiences. Imagine having a teacher who teaches very slowly. So kazi yako ni kukeep, as in your work is to do what? To keep attention or to pay attention. And this person is very slowly. He's speaking slowly, he's teaching you slowly, and so on and so forth. Also, you can use visual aids. Visual aids are those like PowerPoint presentations, like television, like what we call projectors. You can use such things in case you are presenting a speech, or maybe you are presenting a speech that requires maybe things that are technical. You can use visual aids. Then we also have verbal and visual support in presentation. And the reason as to why we use visual aids, in short, 5.3, we are talking about why you use visual aids. Why would you use a projector? Why would you use PowerPoint presentation? Why would you use what we call slides? Number one is to clarify the speaker's point. You want to clarify the speaker's point. Number two, you want to emphasize on the point. Number three is to make the point more interesting. And number four is to justify the beliefs, the attitudes, and values that speaker is offering to the audiences. And then lastly is to furnish the basis that that enables others to believe the speaker's point. Then from there, we move to something else. I think I need to go fast. Let's look at visual aids. When you talk about visual aids, we have various types of visual aids, and these ones are objects and models. For example, those who did biology in school, you are being shown models. You could be shown a model of a human being. You could be shown an object that that looks like something else, like an object of a maybe lung. This is how a human lung looks like. But ukiangalia ile lung is a plastic lung. So they tell you that this is how the human heart looks like, or this is how the human lungs look like, or human heart looks like. Those are objects and models. And the reason as to why you're using objects and models is to make people have a clear picture of what you're talking about. Then we have also photographs. You can have photographs. maybe you are talking about when you went to China and the kind of building that or the construction the construction, the road construction, the way they look, you can use photographs. Or maybe you want to show us how a certain machine looks like, so you can use photographs. You can also use diagrams to represent something. Maybe it's a new house you are building. You can use a diagram to show us how that particular house looks like. Also, list of tables, charts and pie charts, especially when you're presenting data. Maybe you're saying 10% are HIV positive, while 90% they were, maybe for example, HIV negative. You can use pie charts and graphs. You can also use pictograms, and you can also use the media. So there are different kinds of media for presenting visual aids, and this one includes PowerPoint. So these are the media that you can use to do what? To present visual aids. You can use what we call PowerPoint. You can use transparencies, slides, handouts, videotapes, chalk and dry erase boards, like the one that we use in school. Those are dry erase boards, the whiteboards. Those ones are called visual aids. So what are the roles of the visual aids? Number one is to be sure you have a reason for using, or rules for using visual aids. Number one, you must be sure that I need a visual aid. Don't use a visual aid and you don't need it. Don't use a visual aid and you don't need it. For example, if you're talking about the effect of drugs, if you don't need a visual aid, why would you ask for one? You need to be sure that you need a visual aid. Number two, you match the sophistication of your visual aids to the audiences. Match the sophistication of your visual aids to the audience. For example, there are those machines that are very sophisticated. Stop using a sophisticated machine to the audiences. If the una gauge wale ambao wanasikiza, gauge these people. If you use a very sophisticated machine as your visual aid, my friend, people will not be listening to you. They will be looking at that machine. Design the layout, keep the design simple, and make sure that it is large enough to see. If you're presenting to 200 people, 250 people in a room, ensure that your visual aid, even the person seated at the back, can see what you are presenting. Use only horizontal printing, not landscape, but horizontal. And then not vertical, but horizontal. Horizontal ndio tunaita landscape. For example, my notes are in vertical point. Let me change the orientation of my notes. Uone. Itakuwa tunaingia kitu inaitwa horizontal. For example, my notes are put in a horizontal layout. Let me change the layout right now. Yeah, so horizontal, vertical layout is referred to as. Now look at my notes. You can see now the page is wide. I think it has gone back to its normal, whatever. Let me change it back. When you look at my notes, now let me. I think they have refused to go to, yeah. When you look at this first page, the first page is what we call, this is horizontal layout. But when you go to the second page, you see how it is. This one is vertical. The third is vertical, and the other ones, they are vertical. So in other words, unaambiwa unapo present kazi yako, make sure that you are using horizontal printing. Horizontal printing is landscape. Vertical printing is what we call portrait. Vertical printing is portrait. Horizontal printing is landscape. So you are told use horizontal printing. Label all the items for clear identification. Remove the visuals after discussing it. For example, if I'm discussing about this particular point, number 5, that is the visual, then I'm supposed to move to the next after discussing it. Wacha kutuwekea hapo, umetuwekea kitu fulani pale kwa visual aid na haumove, uko hapo tu una explain another point but you have not removed what is in there. I mean, you are explaining something totally different, but you are not, you've not done, you are not done away with what is on the projector or something of the sort. Function of visual aids, number 1 is to show how things look. For example, if I want to show you how an engine car looks like, I'll use visual aids. So it is to show people how something looks. Another function of visual aid is to show how something works. Maybe I want to show you how an engine car or how a car engine works. Or maybe I want to show how things relate to one another. Maybe I want to show you the engine of a motorbike and the engine of a vehicle. So we can do that. Also, we can use visual aids to emphasize on points and also to attract listeners' attentions. Also remember that we use visual aids so that the audiences can remember what they have been taught. Any question up to that point? Because nimefika mwisho. Any question? If then there is no question, we move to something else. And when you move to something else, this is what I mean. First of all, I'll start by sharing the password for today's class. Password for today's class, that's what I'm looking for. If you go to the public, the chat, I've already shared the today's password. Let me share it even on WhatsApp. This one is communication skills. I've also shared it on WhatsApp. You can get that password and use now that password to tick your register. Use it to tick your register. Then apart from that, there are activities there waiting for you. One thing is that we are in topic 5. I have unleashed today's notes, that is topic 5 and topic 6 notes. So you can download those notes as we speak right now. And then there is quiz 5 and quiz 6. Now, when you look at quiz 5 and quiz 6, there are 2 quizzes in one. What do I mean by 2 quizzes in one? There are 2 quizzes in one, meaning that when you open that quiz, you'll find two questions. So that is what I mean. So there are 2 quizzes, quizzes 6, quizzes 5 and 6. That is quiz 2 quizzes in one. So unless there is a question, I will stop at that point so that the remaining time you can use it to do what? You can use it to do the activity. So mimi nitaachia hapo, kama kuna swali tafadhali niulizwe. Kuna kiulizo? So if there is no question, let's go and do the activity.